Welcome. In this video we'll be analyzing function notation, cubic functions part 1. Let's take a look at our first example. Example 1. Given f of x is equal to x cubed plus 4, find f of negative 2. Now recall that your input here happens to be x and that your output will be x cubed plus 4. Also remember that what we're interested in is in the value of f of negative 2. Now let's go ahead and figure out what f of negative 2 is by using two methods. Method 1, also known as the description. And what are we trying to describe? Well, we're going to describe the steps necessary to generate the function f of x. So the first thing we need to do is to pick a number that we will call x. So step 1, pick a number, which is x. Now notice, the first thing you're going to do to x is to cube it or raise it to the third power. Okay, that will get us x cubed. And then the next step and last one for this case is to add 4. So step 3, add 4. Thus generating the expression x cubed plus 4, which is the right hand side that defines the function f of x. Now in this case, the number we're going to choose to start off with, it's negative 2. So pick a number. Well, we're going to say it's negative 2. Then we cube it. So we take negative 2, put it in parentheses, and cube it. Now, cubing means that we're going to rewrite this one as a repeated product as follows. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Now, negative times a negative, it's a positive. Positive times a negative, it's a negative. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So we have that negative 2 quantity cubed is negative 8. And now the last step is to add 4 to it. So we take negative 8 plus 4 gives us negative 4. Therefore, we can say that f of negative 2 is equal to negative 4. Now, let's double check our value by using our second method, method number 2, also known as the substitution method. And why is that name? Well, the reason why we use that name is because we're going to substitute in the negative 2 for every x that we find into the original function. So the original function is f of x equals x cubed plus 4. Now our input happens to be here negative 2 because that's what we want to do. So for every x I see here, I'm going to substitute in a negative 2. So notice we have f of negative 2 is equal to negative 2 quantity cubed plus 4. Now using the order of operations, what we're going to do is to expand this one. So we have negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, and let's evaluate. That will give you negative 8. So we have negative 8 plus 4 is equal to negative 4. And notice that that value of f of negative 2 is consistent with the previously obtained value. So f of negative 2 is negative 4, which means that we're generating the point with coordinates negative 2 comma negative 4. Why is that the case? How come we get this particular value for the x coordinate and this other particular value for the y coordinate? Well, those values are obtained through this. The input value is negative 2, but recall that the input value corresponds to your x coordinate, and the output value happens to be negative 4, which is also your y coordinate. So that's why we can say that we have this point with the given coordinates. Let's see another example. Given g of x is equal to the opposite of x cubed plus 7, find g of 4. Now, once again, notice that your input here is x, and the corresponding output is the opposite of x cubed plus 7. Also notice that what we're interested in is in finding the value for g of 4. Now, let's go ahead and use the previously described methods. So method number 1, the description method. Let's describe the necessary steps to generate the function g of x. So step 1 is to pick a number. And usually we call that number x. Now let's see what is the next step that we're going to do to x. So we're going to raise it to the third power, or we're going to cube it. So cube it, thus getting x cubed. Now notice that after that we're going to take its opposite. So step 3, take its opposite. By doing so, we generate the expression the opposite of x cubed. And then we take our last step, which is to add 7. So step 4, add 7. Now we're going to go through this sequence of steps, but now using the value for x to be 4. So that's the number we're going to choose because that's our input here. So pick a number, 4, cube it. So we have 4 cubed, which is 4 times 4 times 4. Now 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 gives you 64. Then take its opposite. So the opposite of 64 is negative 64. And let's add 7. So we have negative 64 plus 7. Now that becomes negative 57. Therefore, we can say that g of 4 is equal to negative 57. Now let's double check our work by using a second method. Method 2 is what we refer to as the substitution method. And what are we going to do here? Well, we're going to substitute in the value of negative or positive 4 into every single x that we find into the originally defined function. So recall that g of x is equal to, in this case, the opposite of x cubed plus 7. Now, since we want 4 to be our input, we say, well, we have g of 4 is equal to the opposite of 4 cubed plus 7. Now, this gives you the opposite of 4 times 4 times 4 plus 7. Using the order of operations, we do what's in the parentheses first. So we have 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 gives you 64. So we have the opposite of 64 plus 7. And negative 64 plus 7 gives you negative 57. Therefore, we get that g of 4 is equal to negative 57, which is consistent with the previously obtained result. Now, one can say that this particular input generates the point with coordinates 4, negative 57. And how do we know that? Well, we know that because the input or x value is 4 and the corresponding output or y value is negative 57. Let's see one last example here. Example 3. Given h of x is equal to negative 5 times x cubed minus 4, find h of 2. Once again, our input happens to be x. The corresponding output is negative 5 x cubed minus 4. Okay, now let's use method 1, also known as the description method, to figure out what is h of 2. So our first step is to pick a number. So pick a number. Let's call that one x. Then the next step, or the next thing we're going to do to x, is to cube it. So step number 2, cube it. And that's going to give you x cubed. Then after that, we're going to multiply that by negative 5. So step 3, multiply by negative 5. And notice that by multiplying by negative 5, we get the expression negative 5x cubed. And our last step is to subtract 4. So step number 4, subtract 4. And that's going to generate this expression negative 5x cubed minus 4, which is the right-hand side that defines the function h of x. Now, let's go through this sequence of steps, but now using 2 as the selected number. So pick a number. Well, we're going to say it's 2. Cube it. So we have 2 cubed, which is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 gives you 8. Multiply that by negative 5. So we have negative 5 times 8 gives you negative 40. And then subtract 4. So we have negative 40 minus 4 gives you negative 44. So we can say, therefore, that h of 2 is equal to negative 44. Now let's double check our work here. In order to double check our work, let's use a second method. Method 2, also known as the substitution method. So we're going to substitute in 2 for every single x that we find into the original function. So the original function is defined to be h of x is equal to negative 5x cubed minus 4. Now our input is 2. So the x value is 2, so let's substitute that in. So we have h of 2 is equal to negative 5 times 2 cubed minus 4. Now, using the order of operations, we need to evaluate the part with the exponent first. So we have negative 5 times 2 cubed, which is 2 times 2 times 2, minus 4. And once again, let's evaluate what's inside the parentheses. So this is negative 5 times 2 times 2, which is 4, 4 times 2, which is 8, then minus 4. And negative 5 times 8 gives you negative 40, minus the 4 gives you the negative 44. Therefore, we get that h of 2 is equal to negative 44, which is consistent with our previously obtained result. And once again, we can say that an input of 2 generates the point with coordinates 2, negative 44. And how do we know that? Once again, well, we know that because the input or x value happens to be 2, and the corresponding output or y value happens to be negative 44. So this concludes our video on function notation, cubic functions part 1. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.